taking a look at a listing right now. It's what is it? It's $26. It's got a pair of earrings that look gold, but there's nothing really else that looks good. Yeah. There's always got to be something else that, like, there can be one item that looks good, but it's a lot easier to buy if there's at least like two. It's hard to buy the ones that look like gold, but you just can't tell. Like, you're risking it all for one piece. It's got to be like 2 or 3 pieces that look good. Take a look to see if there's any 18 karat listings to bid on. I don't really see anything too good. No, we can go ahead and take a look at some sterling. Let's see, sterling lot. Let's look at accepts offers. Go to the highest priced ones. See if there's anything new. Only 13 pieces. It's not going to do it. Let's see. Day, how's business? It's been pretty slow. There's not too much going on. It's a little bit busier today than yesterday, but still not looking great. Waiting on some stuff to come in. I got another Omega in. This is just a little Seamaster, but it's got the Seahorse back, which is a little bit better. It's just a 14 karat gold fill, and it runs, but it's got like some cracks in the crystal and stuff. But this was like $120, $125 or something. So this should be like a, I don't know, $400 or $500 piece because it's got that Seahorse back, and it's a Seamaster DeVille date. It's got the date there as well. Sorry, I'm trying to show it. Camera's not very good on here. Other than that, I just got like a little bit of scrap gold. Nothing too crazy, but just a lady's watch with the gold bracelet. So I look for these ladies' watches all the time, and a lot of times you'll just see where they just have the gold head. This one has the gold bracelet, and I bought it for like $350, which was like maybe a little risky because these can weigh anywhere between like 9 and like 15 grams or something, and this kind of weighed in between. It was like 13.5 grams. So once you remove the movement, it was like around 10 grams, and so it was a good deal since the price of gold is just like kind of crazy right now. Other than that, I got some other gold in and stuff that was some stuff was a partial refund because I was disputing. They said there was like 70 grams of gold, but one of the like 30-gram pieces ended up being fake. And then they were supposed to send me some more gold to cover it, and then decided that they couldn't do that, and then finally refunded the money, like half the money back, like, I don't know, 4 weeks later or something, 3.5 weeks later. So now I can finally process that, which is like $1,000 worth of gold. So I have to deal with that kind of stuff all the time too. It's just it was $2,000 worth that was sitting for a month before I finally got partially refunded, and then I could finally process the rest of that order to get my money freed up. But it's stuff we got to deal with all the time. I bought another gold lot that had a decent amount of stones for like $2,500, and it was same thing. It's supposed to be like 75 grams of gold, and it ended up being like 65 after all the stones were removed and stuff. So that was like a kind of like a break even deal, which it's not fun when you're breaking even on 2,500, but at least you're not really losing any money. Usually large, really good lots from private people. Ideally, you can get an entire fine jewelry collection for almost nothing. Yeah, I'm sure dealing with private people is the way. I mean, with jewelry, like 95% of it you just don't see. You don't see 95% of the jewelry out on the streets. Like that stuff is all dealt privately. Like almost all the jewelry deals are done privately because I don't know. I was thinking about this the other day. Was like if you have you have some gold. If you're a normal person that has some gold to sell or inherited something or whatever, like what's the first thing you're gonna do? You're gonna go drive to your local jewelry shop or your local like gold buying place and get a quote. I don't think it's like a first reaction to go put it on eBay. So I was just thinking about that, like how having a brick and mortar for this business is probably like a much bigger advantage than I think it is currently. Like because I don't have a brick and mortar or plans to get a brick and mortar at the moment, but I think like having a good location with some good marketing or whatever on a local level is like obviously a method that a lot of people go with. Um, right now for me here, at least where I'm at, the rent's just too high. It just wouldn't make sense. I mean, you're around here, you're looking at like $1 million investment just to open up a business, like a brick and mortar location. Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean I think that's what happens a lot on eBay when I get deals is like it's people who went to a pawn shop or whatever and they offered them 50% and then they put it online. I offer them like whatever 80% after fees or something. They're like, cool, I'll take that. But my goal would be to deal privately online. So I would want people to send me things and then I pay them out after I test it or something, which would be the ideal situation, which is something I've thought about trying to set up. Something that I probably will set up in the future is basically like a gold buying website. Um, I just don't know like how successful that is, and that's a whole like marketing operation in itself to set up a gold buying website. But when you go online and you look at if you type in like gold refiner or gold jewelry buyer or anything like that, you're gonna pull up tons and tons of websites. Like I think what's the biggest one? Like it's like either Cash for Gold USA or Scrap Gold USA or something like that. It's one of the biggest online buyers, and you look at their prices, and they are paying around like 85%, which if I was doing deals online with people sending me stuff, I would be able to pay more than 85%. So clearly, like there's a business model there. Some deals with old antique dealers. They forward them jewelry lots they get offered because they don't want to bother with it. old dealers are out there in St. Louis when dealing with just pictures. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that there's not a lot of opportunity with networking, working with antique shops, working with estate companies. Like there's money there, and you can make a good living as a scrapper doing that. But it's like if I'm looking to grow a business into, you know, like a standalone online thing that I can employ people to do for me, like, and I don't need connections, and I don't like. I guess you're always going to need some kind of connections, but like, I don't know if that makes sense. Like, I'm trying to build something that is a little bit more like internet based that can go like global, like in a shorter time period instead of trying to focus on something local because there's a lot of limiting factors when you're dealing locally. And I think the same opportunity that exists locally will exist online. You just have to create a good enough strategy around it. You got to have good enough infrastructure, good enough marketing. Like I think the marketing side of it is probably the biggest. You need a team of people to, you know, handle all of that. He can just get sent stuff and pays the dealers a commission. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how he has that specifically set up, but there's got to be a certain. It depends on the margin, I guess. Like you can keep a dealer really happy at if you're paying them, super top dollar on everything. But if you are paying 85% or something like that on gold, to me, I find that difficult to sustain, like to get enough customers at that kind of a price. Like, let's just say, like, if I could get enough customers, like regular repeat business, and I'm buying at 85%, I'm a millionaire overnight. Like, because with that kind of margin, you can do a lot. And so I find it much more difficult than you think to, have enough margin and enough volume. All kinds of valuables, all kinds of valuable jewelry stuff, not just about scrap. It's costume jewelry lots. I got you. Like if they get anything in, they're just like, we don't want it. We don't want to deal with it. We'll pass it on to the guy who knows about jewelry, right? They become the jewelry guy, right? Which I understand that. Um, I want to work my way into being the jewelry guy as well. But like I said, I'm trying to do something more online. Like I really want to build out a whole thing. Like if you look at basically a company like the Real Real or Lang Antiques, or there's like a few other. There's like Estate Jewelry Buyers, Florida or whatever. Um, Private people online, they don't want to bother with it. Just gets emails with pictures. Yeah, I mean that's ideally what I would want. What I would want is something online. Definitely a ton of gold. Yeah, I mean I'm sure whoever that is probably has a whole, you know, brand or has been in business a long time to set up that kind of an operation. I mean, from what I know and from the dealers that I've talked to, a lot of them say like, yeah, we've been doing this 30, 40 years. And so we know everybody in the business, like they've just been doing it for so long that, stuff flows to them. And I think I'll get to that point at some point, like later on. But still, it's, I don't know what their numbers are like or anything, but the average like even pawn shop doesn't make like crazy amounts of money. Like probably the biggest pawn shop in the U.S. makes 2 million a year or something. I mean it's not bad, certainly not bad, but like to build something even bigger than that would I just feel like you need to be like more globally oriented. Early 20s, just really connected to all the local dealers, so he's made a name for himself. Yeah, I'm not out there enough. Like I guess I'm sure you can already tell that, right? Because it takes you got to be at the estate sales, you got to be at the flea markets, you got to be seen all the time, you got to be putting in the hours. I don't necessarily have all the same amount of time as like what I used to. Um, I can't just be out at 3 a.m. and be gone all day. Like it's just I don't know. I like what I've got going from the online perspective because I think I have a lot more to offer, even other than just jewelry buying. Like I think all antiques, I think clothes, I think all resale in general. Like I said, I'm trying to do more retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, like setting up wholesale suppliers, and you know, I just don't know. It's going pretty well already, so it's like I'm just gonna keep continuing with what is working because you know you you can only follow so many dreams at once. You can't tackle it all. You gotta kind of choose, and so you kind of have to go towards the path of highest priority and least resistance. This person's got well, I said it's Sterling. That is not typical. Yeah, I need to make better connections, but I am working on it. I do go in and talk to different um, jewelry stores and watch stores. Like when I see them, I'll just go in and talk to the owners and stuff. And sometimes you get good responses, and other times these people just have no idea what I'm talking about or have any idea about, like, they don't buy and sell scrap gold. They don't do any of that kind of stuff. Um, I'll give you an example is like in my local area, there's probably one place that advertises buying gold and silver. And I went in to talk to them because, uh, just to see what was going on with them. And I said, well, I just want to see what your guys' business is like and whatever. And they told me that they primarily only focus on selling bullion to investors or to their customers. And they buy gold and silver like kind of as on the side or to trade for bullion. And their entire business was just off of selling a premium on gold and silver coins, and it was ridiculous. They were basically doing $100 premium per gold coin, and that was their entire business. This was literally just a store with a table that sells hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of gold bullion at a crazy high premium, over what they can buy it for. Like they're just I don't know. It was mind blowing. But this is the only place in my entire area that says they buy gold and silver, and they don't actually buy gold and silver. They don't have any jewelry on display. Like they're not retailing out any jewelry. They're not doing any of that stuff. Literally, their entire business is ordering bullion from JD Bullion, charging $100 premium, and moving it on to their customer. Like, that's their whole business. Like, and this is like a 17 franchise company or something like that. And that's all they do is they just order stuff from JD Bullion and then give it to their customers at a premium. Like, it's crazy. I can't believe some of those businesses exist because I'll order stuff. I'll go online and send the wire to JD Bullion if you're too afraid to. Like, and charge you $5,000 premium on top of what you're buying. It's crazy. I have 3 or 4 dealers I sell stuff to all the time. One for amber, one for costume, and one for antique jewelry. Yeah, I never have any problems with really selling anything. I have just Rolexes and Omegas and like squash blossoms and turquoise and stuff. It's not hard to sell any of it to anybody really. And I had some dealers that would buy it from me, but they just really wouldn't pay that well. I could just always get more, just 99 cent in a reserve auction online. Spending the time for like stuff like that means more buying opportunities. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think you could find more buying opportunities just all over the place. I don't know. But my goal is to, I don't know, be so good at knowing how to buy everything and then so good at buying at auctions and so good at like you just get so good that it becomes impossible to ignore kind of thing. Is like a little bit of my strategy, but like I said, everything's going well as is. So if I just continue to grow as an auction buyer and I keep just doing my own private deals, or if I can set up a way to get a better price on my scrap, then I can continue to grow just through that. I don't know. I'd like to know if there's anybody out there getting more, like, who out there thinks that they're getting the highest price for their gold, or like obviously it sounds like you scrap gold to somewhere. So I'd be interested to know like what kind of a price you're getting on that, because I've tried to find, I think there exists a better price than what I'm getting currently. And so part of my one of my next goals is to get a place that will pay me better than what I'm getting currently. My guy pays about 94%. Yeah, so that is good, definitely, for a local buyer. I get about 96, maybe 96.5%. And I can only buy so much at 90, 92%. I'm buying. So like I could potentially buy at 94%. It would just have to be like a kind of like a same day that I'm melting it type of thing, or just like a huge dollar amount. But I think there's a way for me to get even better than that. I think I could get 98%. And then I could increase the business quite a bit further on eBay. Good luck at Savers. Hopefully you find something good. I'm looking at a pair of opal and gold and ruby earrings right now. They weigh 5.5 grams. Okay, so I can't really buy those. Interesting though. It was a clip back. They look pretty heavy. Yeah, so I think there's a way to get even more than 96%. I think you could get as much as like 98% from the right place. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a good operation, is to be able to pick out the best stuff. But like, I don't make a lot of money even retailing anything. So even if I do have the best pieces, it's not necessarily going to make me a bunch more money, even if I could pick the best things, because now I still have to float it, still have to float the money. I still have to take the time to list and sell. And there's still only so much of a premium I can even get on most items. They're going to sit for like a year. So I don't know. I'll be right back. Everything I buy I could flip to a dealer via WhatsApp, make a profit. So it's hardly even any risk. And by good pieces, I mean George Jensen stuff are better. I mean, even George Jensen is like not that easy for me to sell. I've had lots and lots and lots of George Jensen pieces that have gone for a third of what I thought they would go for. I mean, I've had some really nice necklaces that I thought were like $2,500, $3,000 pieces, and I end up selling them for like $800. And just I have to buy them really cheap. But I understand, like, if you're getting silver George Jensen at scrap, then yeah, you're doing pretty well on that. I think you said you're in Europe, so it is definitely different in Europe than here for sure. Yeah, if you buy it for $40 because it's 40 grams, yeah, that for sure. If it's something silver and you're buying it for scrap, it's definitely a good deal, but it's not like even the George Jensen stuff. Like, you're just not going to get, like, I don't know, you're not going to get crazy. Like, you're not making 10K off of something like that. It's like, I don't know. I'm looking for basically, so if I can get 98%, let's just say I can get 98%, I think on eBay, you are winning almost every auction at 94%. Like, every single scrap auction that hits on gold, you can probably win at 94.5%. You're going to win everything. And that goes for the same for online, even for like live auctions or something like that. Like, I think you can buy huge pieces, 100 gram 18K pieces for 94.5%, like all of them. And so if you can get that top price, like, you will be able to increase the amount you can buy. You can just buy like millions a month in just scrap gold, if you can get your payout high enough, which basically means, like, one of the things I already know that I could do that would increase my margins would be to melt the gold myself in a crucible, or in your backyard or whatever. I just don't have any area where I could do that safely. That would save me a lot because I pay a lot in melt fees. That's one of the ways that, like, a refinery place makes money, is they charge you on the melt. And then part of it's like on the assay as well. You can get cheaper prices on the assay. And I don't know if you can get it, if they would accept an assay you did yourself, probably not. But you can find people who do them for cheap because they don't really cost the assay or that much money to do. So that could be one way to increase my margin a little bit. Another one would be basically volume. So I think the people who I talk to that would accept that would give me a better price would be people, they want 100 ounces of gold at a time. And so, like, 100 ounces, I think, of mixed carat, they would take 100 ounces mixed carat. So it could be like around 80 to 100,000 at one time. You could get an even slightly better price, especially if you brought it in pre-melted. So if you could pre-melt a 100-ounce gold bar yourself and then take it into a refinery, you could get paid out, like, I don't know, 98, 99%. Like, you could get very, very high premium, or just a very, very high, melt price. They won't take much of a fee, because even that 1% is like $1,000, so they're making $1,000 on it anyway. But I think that is going to be part of the strategy eventually, is to get to the point where I can start dealing directly at volume with a refinery. Is one strategy. I'm more into scraps, kind of a different business. Um, Yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily into scrap. I don't have a like you said, like you have a source of designer pieces. I don't have a source like a super strong source of designer pieces. I mean, I do look for designer pieces and I do find designer pieces, but I don't have like, you know, hundreds of designer pieces. I'm getting like, I don't know, one or two or three a week of designer pieces, and like it's the same thing. I need 10 a day, right? Like that's usually my goal for something is like if I want it to be successful, you need to be doing, at least 3 or 4 a day. And of designer pieces, I don't think I'm really getting 3 or 4 a day. And like with the scrap, it's like one piece, like one like little like wedding band you can make 30 or 40 bucks on. And like that's a lot of money for like one small piece to make 30, 40 bucks. Like I don't know, like you would need to buy so many designer pieces in good condition. Like I deal in a lot of antiques, and like most of the time they're not in very good condition. Like getting the top quality designer pieces is pretty rare. Same thing with like turquoise or anything else. Like getting that stuff in volume at a low enough price is kind of difficult. Buy 80% of my things online, but I don't search gold primarily. I just never search for any gold terms. So I mean, I see every single costume jewelry lot that hits eBay, and I search a lot of different costume jewelry designers. So, like, I mean, maybe you just have a better, I don't know, better market to be buying out of or something like that. I'm not sure what, like, you know, we could definitely work together on something if you want. I mean, if you want, I'm an open book, like I'll tell you anything that's going on, everything I'm looking at, because like I appreciate all the information and everything, and it's like I want to learn something real that's going to have a real impact on my business that I'm going to start making more money from tomorrow, right? That's kind of like my goal with going live on YouTube and talking to people and stuff, and like just talking about business in general and whatever, is like I want to get the next idea that is going to truly work. Like I'm willing to try things that, we already know that it's not everything that is going to work, but like if we can find a certain website that works, or a certain set of terms that works to look for, or like you know, like I'm searching all over for opportunities to, like, that's just a gold mine if I can find something else that works. Like I really understand that, like I make a certain amount from eBay alone, right? If I can find another eBay, that doubles all of my income, changes my entire life, right? Like all these things, all these little things, like all these little, like if I could search more designer, like you're saying, if I could find more designer items that I could sell for a profit or whatever, like one connection or something, that's something like that is $30,000, $40,000 a year extra income added on top of what I already do, right? Like I fully understand how this business can grow very exponentially fast because I've done it many times. I can't say how many times like I've changed one thing, one way I set up my searches, or one website or whatever, and like my business doubles overnight. Like it does, you don't realize it. Like even right now, I can't even explain to you, like I don't even know what my own business looks like because I've made so many changes in the last like 6 months, right? I don't even know the effects of all the changes I've made. Like ideally, things are already much better than I think they are. I just don't know it yet because I've made so many changes that I haven't given those changes enough time to take effect, right? And that's like that kind of stuff is really exciting with business is like you just don't know the effects of your changes. Like these things have kind of like a butterfly type of effect, I guess, where it's like if I can find even learning a couple of new designers can change a lot of things. Like learning a couple of things about a different category. Like I didn't even understand uh, clothing before this at all, right? And I'm watching a YouTube video of somebody buying like band T-shirts or whatever. Going through, they're at a flea market. They're going through a stack. I don't remember the channel, but there's a bunch of channels on YouTube that do vintage clothing. Yeah, obviously, Tekken Sports is probably like one of the biggest ones, but he's got a stack of T-shirts like this, and he's going 200, 300, 400. Oh, this one I'll do 800. This one I'll do 600. This one I'll do 200. And I'm sitting there going, like, this guy just spent like $4,000 on a, like a stack like this big of old dirty band T-shirts, and I'm like some of that stuff can just like open up your mind and like just be like, holy crap! Like I don't deal in T-shirts at all, and this guy is spending 4,000 on T-shirts, and he knows like a lot about this type of stuff, and so like that's one deal for him. And I'm like, holy, that's like as much as I'm doing on a gold transaction, this guy's doing on T-shirts. So clearly, like, there's a lot more opportunity out there than I'm even coming close to tapping into. And it's not like it's that complicated to learn what that guy is doing with T-shirts. Like, it's not that difficult. Obviously, it takes some time to learn, but it's not like this guy is some like rocket scientist when it comes to valuing band T-shirts. I'm sure, like, once you've seen the same T-shirt enough times, it's like, okay, this T-shirt's worth $700. So if I see it for $200, it's just an easy buy. So it becomes second nature to these people who are experts in their fields. And so it's like if I can even tap into just a little bit of that, I think it's pretty easy to learn these other categories. Like I just don't really see anything special about learning how to buy like a Hot Wheels Redline or how to buy like any kind of antique swords, like anything. Kind of do the same thing with jewelry category. I like to focus on things that are more niche or main market is in another country or continent. Yeah, so you're saying like things that people would ordinarily miss because they're like not a familiar item with like that local market, right? Like so in the US, I could buy a lot of European silver because a lot of the people here don't know any of the European silver marks and they just think like, oh, it's all just plated or whatever. Like they don't know how to look for like French hallmarks on something that have like very, very tiny little like touch marks that in the US you would just see like big like clear markings, but in Europe you could, they're maybe a little bit more difficult to see or they're like symbols and stuff that, we see the queen's head on something like to us that doesn't really mean anything, right? But I am just keeping an eye on the listings right now for the moment. But yeah, I mean, we could definitely talk about certain things. I mean, I hate to give up, all the information. Obviously, I'm sure you're kind of the same way. Like some of it's a little guarded because what I do is very replicable, and I think like if I show everybody exactly how I'm doing everything, it would be very easy to just do that yourself. But I guess like since you're in another country, it's a little safer for me, maybe. But that's definitely one of the reasons why I don't do YouTube that much. Is like I can't really just share everything because I was sharing stuff for a little while and people would hop on my deals, and like would not only would they hop on my deals, but they would also copy my information or pretend to be me or try and fake my information and stuff like that. So That's another thing I have to worry about with showing live deals online. I already thought it was kind of crazy how much you already shared. Yeah, I mean, there was definitely a lot of people telling me not to. I was, and I still am under the impression of like, even if I give it all away, it's okay because like the opportunity existed before I knew about it, and it's like it didn't take me that much to figure it out. Like, like if people want to do it, they can do it. But if you hold their hand and show them how to do it, like, it doesn't mean they're going to be around forever. And like that's another thing is like a lot of people will fade out of things. Like people just don't stick with things in general, right? And it's the same for me. Like I know Amazon works, and I've been shown exactly how to do Amazon, but it's not like I'm currently doing it because I tried to do it and it was not working out exactly how I wanted, so I stopped doing it. It's like the same thing. It's just nobody sticks with it, right? So it's like it's not, and no one cares about jewelry. Let me tell you, dude. Like nobody cares. Nobody cares about gold and silver and stuff. I scream this stuff at mountaintops all day long. Nobody cares. Like there's maybe 10,000 people in the entire United States that even deal in jewelry. Like it's not like you know, it's not something especially for younger people to like get into. Don't buy on eBay. More local platforms. eBay's kind of dead here. Yeah, so I think there are certain markets that are going to be extremely easy to come in and just like crush all competition, right? It just depends on your market. Here is still extremely competitive. Google Lens and Game Boy Game. Yeah, I mean that's 100% like all of the money I make is stuff you can't Google, right? I mean most of the money I make is on stuff you Google it and you get zero results, right? You just have to make like some of my best buys are just from like informed guesses, right? And I think that will always exist because there's too many like one of a kind items that you just can't Google, and you just have to know, you have to understand value. Everybody wants the scrap. Yeah, definitely scrap gold in particular is like the most competitive market. Obviously, like everything else is pretty much free range. Like you can get all of that stuff because nobody's really trying that hard at it. But I found too that no one even tries that hard at scrap gold. No one tries that hard at any of it. No one tries that hard at business. Like that's why a lot of businesses fail. That's why a lot of people, work a 9 to 5 job, right? I mean, like why not just work a 9 to 5 job if you just want that security and comfort and whatever. Like, but I'm just trying to figure out what specifically is going to be the next route for me to really improve things. And so I don't know if you have any um, ideas about like what would be the next big thing for this this type of business, like growing different categories. I still think growing different categories is like a big way to do it, but obviously it hasn't worked out like super well for different categories. I mean, I do knives, which works a little bit. I do like fountain pens, which works a little bit, like, but I haven't found anything else that works as well as jewelry has for me because I think like I just don't know anything that provides a big enough return other than like the freight shipping stuff I've seen works pretty well. Yeah, I mean, I will never work a 9 to 5 job ever in my life. Like it's just, I mean, I have, but I'll never go back to it. Um, I've gained enough skills to where you could throw me in the desert with nothing, and I'm coming out with money in a week. I know how to hustle and flip anything. So I'm not. I've gotten over that. I got over that a long time ago, probably 7, 8 years ago. I got over like the fear of not being able to make it or something, or like not being able to survive, like I'll make, like my back's against the wall, I'm surviving, right? I mean, it's a eat or be eaten type of situation, and whatever it is, I'm gonna make it out, and I'm not worried about that. It's more so like, how far do I want to grow? How fast do I want to grow? How like much work do I want to take on personally? How much can I delegate? Like, there's a lot of different questions about when you start to grow, is like, how much work do I even want to do? Right? That's part of it too. How much responsibility do I actually want to take on? And I think that's part of what has prevented me from really expanding into too much, is because it's like I kind of like being comfortable with what I'm doing. So if I can just relax, buy stuff, make good money, learn how to expand my skills and continue to grow, 5 or 10% a year, whatever, that's cool. Or do I want to try and go for like a multi-million-dollar operation in a couple of years, And it's just like, you got to understand the what you have to give up too. It's like, got your own mental health, your own physical health. Like, there's a lot of other things. There's family and relationship stuff that also matter. So I can't just be. It's not all about going crazy with the money. But I am learning. I think one of the biggest changes that is coming to my business, that is going to be making the biggest difference, is just changing that mentality from the closed hand to the open hand. And so I think that is a concept that is very difficult to understand when you're first starting out, is that nowadays it's not all about the money. It's more about helping people and, trying to provide a good service, and like, you know, not worrying about getting the top dollar out of everything. Like I talked about the cost to acquire a customer. Like, you don't realize that the cost to acquire a customer is so little, because there's so little you have to do. The bar is set so low. And so it's part of that, like, you give, the more you give, the more you receive type of thing, which is it is a very weird concept, but it does work in business. Like, legitimately, if you know, the more you work with people, like the more you'll get back, so that's definitely like, it's like a different concept that I'm not as used to. Yeah, you do it in certain ways. Like, of course, a business has to make money, but it's just like, if you're setting your goal as being make more money, make more money, make more money, it doesn't happen like that. Your goal can't be to make more money, right? It's got to be like, my goal is to, you know, provide a service that pays people the top price on gold. And so, like, you have to understand that everybody out there is getting ripped off. Everybody that sells their gold is getting ripped off. They're getting ripped off at pawn shops paying 50%. They're getting ripped off using these estate sale companies when their loved one passes. They're getting ripped off, when the government seizes their possessions or whatever. Like, all these people are getting ripped off, and I could provide the service that gives them the highest payout possible, and with the least amount of difficulty, right? So it's like, you have to think of it in that way, of like, you are providing a positive service. You stop thinking about it as like, oh, I'm just ripping these people off and making my profit margin or whatever. It's like, no, I'm providing a service that is helping them. I'm paying them 30-40% more on the items that that they inherited or whatever. I'm making sure that everybody's getting paid, fairly, when in this business, 99% of the people are just scamming, you know? Yeah. More giving people more than they want rather than negotiating hard. Yeah. Yeah. That's how you got to see it, is just that, everybody else is out there scamming. I mean, you see it all the time with like with the rappers and stuff. Like, they're just getting ripped, off of their pieces. They're getting sold fake watches. they're getting sold. Frankenstein watches, like the watch market is it can't be Mother Teresa yet. But yeah. I mean, I don't know how familiar you are if you deal a lot in watches, but like the watch market is like just full of scammy deals, like full of them. Holy moly, is there a lot in the watch market that is just like covered in swamp water? Because with watches, like there can be 100 different things that aren't original on a watch that affect the value that your regular customer is going to have no idea about. Like the hands are wrong, the bezel's wrong, the case is wrong, the movement's wrong, parts have been changed out, the dial's been refinished. Like, oh my god, I see people just making a killing off of watches that are not what they should be. And like, I just don't ever want to get into that kind of a market. Like I would never want to be, just because they're willing to buy it doesn't mean it's like the right thing. It's like because you're willing to buy it, like you're buying a Rolex with like a fake dial and you don't know the difference, and the salesperson is being like, oh, I've got this great Rolex with this really cool custom dial, and then I'm selling it for the same price as an original, and like this unknowing customer is just like, oh yeah, I like that dial better, I like the blue dial better than the black dial, so I want the blue dial. And instead they're ripping you for like $2,000 because you like the color blue better than black, and you don't know any better. Like that kind of stuff's super sketchy. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I agree that it's always an imbalanced equation, but it's just like there's a difference between like creating a business model around like ripping people off. I mean, I don't know how to say it better. Like you're not ripping people off, but it's just like I don't want to create a business model around selling goods that are altered or customized and being sold as a premium product. Like you'll see uh, right now with the uh, diamond business with these moissanite stones and these lab created diamonds and stuff like that. I think that whole market, the entire lab created market, is pretty much based on lies at this point in time. Like I think there is a market for lab created diamonds, but I think the that it, like lab created diamonds is like Bitcoin or something. Like it's just like there's value that people are putting on it, but it doesn't mean that there's like underlying value actually there. Gold guy knows I saw online and I get more for it, telling him exactly how much some of these things bring. Sometimes a lot of times you're paying more than he wants. Yeah, which is like a good situation that's going to last for a while, but it probably won't last forever. You know, because I've been in those situations too. It's like I don't want to know. Right? Like I know you're making profit off of my stuff. I see my same stuff reposted on eBay every day, right? Because I watch all of it. So like I see my items go back on eBay, and I know it's an item I sold. Like I know it's mine, and I don't care about it either. But at a certain point, you see enough of your own stuff being sold for more than what you sold it for, and eventually you're just going to be like, maybe I should at least try to get a little bit more. That's where it comes, is like they're going to try and see if they can get more for it, and then they're going to find somebody who does pay more for it, and then all of a sudden that connection dries up and your business crashes, right? And that's what I mean about how like I can't put too many of my eggs into like the baskets of a couple of dealers supplying me with inventory. I want to be able to supply, like I don't like relying on other people for my business, right? That's kind of been like part of it since the beginning. It's like you want to be able to do all of it from your own like ability or from the open market or whatever. I would say, like, I like being able to buy from the open market instead of, trying to only do deals on the private market. Like, I will do deals on the private market, but it's not like my primary thing is to be the best on the open market. Like, I want to outcompete all of them, right? It's like, if you can be the best on the open market, you win all the deals. That's what I'm saying. Is like, especially at auction, like, with auction, you're the highest bidder, you win, right? So if you can always be the highest bidder, you always win all the items. And if you have a market for those items, then you can grow your business to where it gets huge by these, like, the difference between the second bidder and the highest bidder is usually $100 or something. Like, we're not talking like you have to do a whole lot to become the highest bidder and all of a sudden you win everything. It only takes like a couple of percent better than the other guy, and then all of it flows to you. So that's kind of like what I'm working towards, is working towards being that guy that can pay the most for everything, or that knows the most about everything, or whatever, that can get the best prices. So then I win because of my competitive advantage, right? Not because I like greased over the owner or something. I've sold stuff away too cheap. Oh man, there's a lot of things that I wish I had just like kept, or that's worth a lot more now than it was. Yeah, I mean, I think I've done a pretty good job already at growing that way and being able to like control the market more that way, just by having enough cash available, or just over the years, just building up my bankroll has helped. Like, that alone, just having more money at your disposal can help. Like, just the same thing as in poker, right? The person with the most chips on the table can kind of push around the other people. They don't have to. They get to pick and choose which deals they want to take, right? And so that strategy has worked pretty well. And I think as I continue to get a little bit bigger, that's gonna, keep getting easier. The one that, yeah, picks all the stuff that everybody else doesn't want. Yeah, and that's a lot of the times what I do too, is I go after the unusual stuff. But where the money is in the majority. You have to understand, where the money is where the money is. It's If you look at eBay right now, if you go look at eBay's jewelry category, there are more brand new listings of jewelry than there are used. And so you should want to be in the new jewelry market more than the used jewelry market, because there's more money in the new jewelry market. The market for new jewelry is 10 times the size of used, right? And so that's part of what I'm trying to do, is I want to get away from the super niche, and I want to go more and more towards the majority as you can, because those people are there for a reason. There's a reason why all the big companies sell new jewelry. There's a reason why, you know, like, the biggest companies in the world aren't niche sellers, right? Like iPhone isn't sold to only a specific group of people. The iPhone is sold to every person alive, right? When you start a company, you want your demographic to be as large as possible. You don't want it to be like, oh, I'm selling specifically to this group of people, which is how a lot of businesses start. Is they start by selling a lot of things to a very specific niche, which is a great way to start because you're solving a problem. But at the end of the day, you want to solve a problem that everybody has, right? Not just like, that's why I could say, even for jewelry, like, it's a luxury good, right? And so it's not even something that's necessary, even just having a jewelry company. So I don't even really want to see myself as a jewelry company only. I want to see myself as a resale company, like, or we resell everything, or you could just say like a luxury goods company or something. Like, you could pick a category like that. But yeah, I'm never trying to I have niched down, right? Like I did niche down, and now I want to start growing out of that niche a little bit, or expanding to more mainstream categories of the niche that I'm in, right? Like it's not the path I want to go down, even though it means less potential, but potentially is still really high, and more importantly, I enjoy it a lot. Yeah, I just think that, like I said, it depends how much you want to work, how far you want to go, like what your ambitions are, like I think that's you can call it either direction, right? Because I'm just sitting here talking to you on live, like so I can't really say that you know, I'm not somebody sitting here with 80,000 subscribers and I can just say like, oh, I'm gonna be huge or whatever. But you definitely don't want to underestimate like what you could do, or like, I don't know. I never want to pigeonhole myself into a thing of like, I'm gonna keep growing exactly the same business forever, because there's too many risks. I mean, even just buying on eBay alone is a big risk, because eBay is, as a company, is doing very poorly. They do a very bad job for their customers. They have no customer service. They have a lot of fakes. They have a lot of issues. Like, so there's a lot of risk even with eBay, right? Like I don't want to be in a position where if eBay goes down, I go down with it, like you got to be like, obviously you buy on whatever more local buying websites, which is good for you, um, to buy more things locally. I think that's a strategy like most people take, is to buy locally, because that's the best. Like you understand your own market, right? You understand where you live. You understand like what people live in your area. You understand like what they want to buy. Like it's definitely a good way to go. But if you want to grow to like $1 billion company, you're just not going to do that in your hometown. Yeah, diversify my sources. Yeah, that's a big thing. And it's like I want to diversify the items I buy. I want to buy the sources, diversify the sources, but like I don't know. I guess just right now when I'm talking on eBay, I'm more conceptualizing where I want to go next, and like what my goals are, and what's the next big source of stuff. And I think that's probably like the biggest key is where you source from and how you source and stuff, is like that's where all the money is made, right? Is in your sourcing. So it's like if I can get, like I said, if I can get a better source at a better margin, I'm a millionaire overnight. It's just like if I find a way to buy on Etsy that works for me, or a way to buy on Whatnot that makes it possible for me to watch multiple streams at once, and I don't know. You find some, you or multiple apps. You find like a bunch of different apps, or a bunch of different, like you find some. I know some people that buy on Shop Goodwill that have found certain certain Goodwill locations kind of always have good stuff in their like costume jewelry or whatever. And so I know that certain people have figured out that certain locations of certain Goodwills always have like gold in their stuff. And so that they have, that kind of a supply where it's like, okay, that's more of a little bit better of like a repeat supply source. A lot of what Tekken Sports talks about, or like those people over there on like the reseller podcast and stuff, they talk about getting repeatable sources, right? Like that's something I would want to do. Like say on Amazon, there's people who sell gift boxes. Like I could sell jewelry boxes on Amazon, and that's something that would be replenishable, repeatable business. Like that's an area that I would like to try and go into more, is like where can I get anything that's repeatable business that I could get a big supply of like costume jewelry or silver jewelry or something, which I just did buy. I mean, I just did at auction buy, from one auction a good amount of bulk silver. But like, what if I could do that where it's like where you go to somebody and buy individual pieces? What if I could get a source of all of it? Like I could just buy the bulk, make money on both sides of it, right? Like, so obviously the guy that you're buying from is making money on the bulk and you're making money on the individual. Like, well, what if you could be the one who buys the bulk, right? And now all of it's coming to you. Not only do you get the first pick because you don't even know about the first pick stuff that he's already picked out, right? If he is, or maybe not, but like that's what I'm going for is up. I'm trying to go up the food chain, not like stay at the individual picking level. Can you make a lot of money at the individual picking level? Absolutely. But can you make more at the wholesale level or at the bulk level? Like, I think you can. Like, that's what you want to do is you want to have, if I was him, man, is leaving so much on the table. You think so. You think so until you find out that he's making like 100 times what you're making. And then you realize he's giving you the pennies that he's leaving on the floor, right? Because that could be the case too. And that's typically what it is, right? They're just cutting you a break because it's pennies on the floor that they don't want to pick up. My mentor, or one of the people that helped me a lot with what I'm doing, is saying, he told me like there's a lot of stuff about rich people that you can't fathom because they have so much money that dropping $1,000 on the floor is exactly the same as you dropping a penny, right? It's the exact same thing. They drop 1,000 on the floor, it's the same as you dropping a penny, right? That's how much they care about it, right? So like those are the customers you want to go after, right? Is like, yeah, you doubt it. Yeah, maybe. I would just say he's making something, right? Because nothing happens without someone making some money. And I would just say that, like, yeah, you would be surprised. Like, there are, like, let's just say, like, an estate sale company, right? Or, yeah, maybe there's an estate sale company. I'm not sure how familiar you are with estate sale companies. Is like, they will, around here, they will buy out the entire estate. They're going to pay you 10 cents on the dollar of what it's worth. And then they're going to refer the person, the real estate agent who's going to sell the house. And they're going to refer you to the person who's going to handle your estate taxes or whatever. And they're going to get commission on all of it, right? So they're buying the entire contents of the house. They're getting a 1% commission from the realtor on the sale of the house, which is usually a multi-million-dollar house, especially around here. Then they're going to get a commission on referring to the, estate tax planner or whatever. And then they're going to get a referral to the investment agent. Like when some rich person dies, these estate sale companies have figured out a way to position themselves, right? So they're getting the entire contents of the estate. They're getting referrals on the sale of the house. They're getting referrals on the handling of the money for the estate. So for them, if they've got some costume jewelry or they've got some gold scrap jewelry or whatever, and they're giving you a deal to where you're making your little 10% or whatever, right? Like they could care less because that is just like, that's just stuff they got for free, right? Where they're making the big money is they're making money on all this stuff, the taxes, the investments, right? Like an investment referral is worth a lot of money. I used to work at a bank, so I know that, like, investment referrals can be big money. Real estate referrals can be big money, right? So there's like these, even if you don't think that person is making a lot of money specifically on the gold, like they could be making so much more money on all these other things that you just don't know about, right? And so there's a lot of things that you don't know until you find out about them, right? Like there are levels to these things, and there's levels above a 10 millionaire, there's levels above 100 millionaire, right? There's levels above a billionaire, right? There's trillionaires out there in the world, right? Like, so you got to understand, like, there's levels to the shit that you probably just, like, same for me. I mean, I can't even imagine, right? Right. Yeah, exactly. Like, stuff that was big to you in the past, like nowadays, if I see a deal where I can make $10, I just don't even want to do it, because like, or when people offer me gold and they're like, "Hey, I've got $200 worth of gold. Like, do you want to buy it?" I say, "Ah, just keep it, because I'm gonna have to pay you 90% or 85% or whatever, and on that $200, and I'm making like whatever $30 or $40, which is good, and it's good if you can do that in volume. But it's like, we all know that it's the buying something for $1, selling it for 1,000. That's where the real profit is to be made. It's most of the time you're making the really good money on the, like, those crazy deals. That's, for me at least, like the big designer pieces or whatever. Like, especially like when they're gonna mail it to you or whatever, and I'm like, it's gonna cost you $10 in postage, and I'm gonna make $10. Like, I'm basically making as much as you're spending to ship it to me. Like, it's not really worth it for me to buy it from you. And they're just like, well, like, I can't get any more for it anywhere else. So yeah, the value of your time. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think right now I would value my time, maybe $100 an hour, maybe sometimes more. So it's like, yeah, it's the same. It's exactly that. It's like the opportunity has to be worth a lot. So it's like, if it's going to take me too much time to do, I just can't do it. If there's the potential to make a few $100s or whatever, even if there's just the potential, like, I'm all for it and I will do it. Like, there's nothing that's like beneath me or whatever. Like, I'll do whatever it takes to make a buck, but it's just, you know, there's just time efficiency, right? I mean, you can't go after it all. Yeah, I mean, obviously, selling stuff quickly is one of the best things you can do for your business. It's just, I don't have any customers that I can flip a $5,000 piece to and make $800 or $500, or whatever it is I need to make on that. I don't have anyone that's going to take that piece because they don't have customers. Like, some of these, even some of the big time jewelers that you could think of, or like you're thinking about like a New York City jewelry store or something like that. A lot of the times, even that's an illusion. Like, even a lot of that stuff is not owned by those people. Because I asked when I was at the jewelry district in LA, is like, there's a couple $1 billion worth of jewelry in those shops, and I asked, like, who owns all this stuff? Like, there's no way that all of these people in these jewelry stores own millions of dollars worth of inventory and are coming to work every day. Like, if you had $10 million in your showcase or whatever, like, I'm not coming to work every day to work 9 to 5 at my jewelry booth. Like, it just doesn't make sense when you think about it. It's like, why come to work every day when in your case is sitting like $10 million or whatever? It's like, you clearly have enough money. If you're spending $10 million on jewelry, ideally you have at least 10 million in the bank to cover any of that or whatever, or 5 million bucks in the bank or something to help protect you. Like, all of your money's not in the inventory, so it's like, why show up to work? So I asked, I'm like, who owns all this stuff? And they're like, well, most of it is owned by, investment companies, billionaires, like these big people that consign the stuff, or a lot of it's on trade, or a lot of it's on consignment, or a lot of it's borrowed and whatever. And like, most of the stuff that's in the cases is not actually owned by anybody that's working there. And that's like a big thing that, if you're not in the industry, you don't really understand. Is like, you don't understand that a lot of this stuff is all an illusion. It's all an illusion, and there's only a few people that actually own all this stuff, right? There's only a few people that actually know how to like make jewelry. There's only a few people that know how to work on watches. Try and go get a watch worked on. I don't know, like, maybe in Europe you guys have a lot more watchmakers closer to Switzerland, but like here, if I want to get a watch worked on, it's going to cost me like $800. Any watch. It doesn't matter what the watch is worth. It's going to cost me like $600 to $800 to get it worked on, because there's nobody here that knows how to work on watches that is willing to do it for less, right? Like in China, you can get it done for $50, but not here. Like the amount of good watchmakers, there's probably like three, like on the entire West Coast, and there's probably like 3 or 4 on the East Coast. Like there's not. The more you look into it, especially that I found, is like the actual amount of like people who know what they're doing, or like that actually do the work that like requires a specialized set of skills, is like way fewer than I would have thought, at least initially. Like I would have thought like, oh yeah, there's probably like thousands of watchmakers, right? Like it can't be that difficult to learn how to work on watches or something. But apparently, to become a master watchmaker, it is like not there's not that many in the United States, because you do have to like go to watch school in Switzerland. You have to work for a major brand, and a lot of the times these major brands don't want to let you go, and like not everybody will start their own business. So how many people are like master watchmakers that work for a major brand like a Rolex that want to leave to start their own business in the United States, that are going to somehow make more money than they would have just working for the brand? Like, there's just not that many that exist. Yeah, one tiny. Yeah, that's the thing. Is though, is like those old guys that work on watches for fun in their spare time and whatever. Like they just same thing. They don't last forever, unfortunately. A lot of them just aren't around anymore. That do watches and pocket watches and stuff for fun. Like I can do some of the basic stuff on watches, but yeah, I'm definitely not like able to totally service them, especially not at a quick time frame. That's part of it too. Is there's so much demand for watchmakers that you have to be able to fix a watch in like under an hour or something to be able to, turn over enough projects to make a good amount of money. But we just got to come up with the next, like, how do we do that? How do we get to the point where we're buying the majority of stuff? Like I can't win the auctions very often, right? Auctions, I'm probably 1 for 100 on what I'm winning, and it has to be something very specific, and it's got to be from the right auction company, and they've got to be selling the right stuff, and it only happens like once a month. Like there's only so much inventory in the world to buy, and so how do we get to the point where we're buying a larger portion than we currently are? Like, do you have any guess as to what would be like the best way to start winning more jewelry? Because I don't know. There's only so many places people sell jewelry, right? Especially online, right? I can name probably 10 places on all of the internet that these pieces are sold. Like, how do we get to the point where we can win more of that inventory and make make sizable profit? I mean, do you think it's just knowing more designers, or is it, you know, trying to reach out to people more and network more? Like, is that the only way, is to like actually reach out to these auction companies? Like, because I've reached out to a few auction companies, and they're not very receptive, especially online. Even refineries I've called, jewelry stores I've called, people I've emailed, like they either don't respond, or they don't want to give you very much information, or they just or you're just too low of a dealer for them. They don't want to deal with you because you're too small. Like, how do we get to where we can turn over more, buy more? Like, where's a good source? Like, I don't know. Do you have any ideas of like what the strategy would be to do that? I mean, I could think of a couple of different things. I mean, one of the things I'm looking at right now is okay, you gotta go. No worries. Yeah, I'll hit you up, or I'll just go live, or I don't know. Like I said, I'm trying to set up a Discord or something. Maybe like I'm home all the time, so I'm just gonna be buying and stuff. So, but anyway, thanks for stopping by. I mean, I appreciate it. We'll just keep it rolling. I'm just sitting here trying to buy some jewelry. Hopefully, we can find something today. I bought like one pair of earrings or something this morning. What did I buy? I bought a necklace that they said it was 18 karat, but I think it's 9 karat, but it was $56. So it's like an antique looking piece, citrine and pearl. It's pretty nice. Some silver from Great Britain. White gold diamond bracelet. This thing's interesting. Well, have I bought from this person before? No. This one's just listed as white gold diamond bracelet, $2,100. Let's see if they have any description. Missing 2 small diamonds pictured. This is 14 karat white gold. This is probably 23 grams, 25 grams. I think that's going to be too high of a price. I'm going to bail before you give me the ideas of what we should do. If anybody's watching this later, if you have any comments about what you think would be the next best thing for me to do for buying, I mean, I think there's certain things that you could call out that are probably pretty obvious. The stuff about networking, I know a lot of people are going to say like you have to be doing social media, doing networking. You just kind of have to do it. I know that's probably the answer, and I've known that's probably the answer, is that you probably just have to get out there and network and market and do social media and do all these other things. That's what Tekken Sports told me, at least, was like, he said that these people who are buying all of these things are sourcing from every possible way you could imagine, is what he told me. So I believe that it probably comes from buying from a multitude of sources and building out a whole system to source from everywhere possible. And I could definitely see that being part of the answer, is to just do auctions, do buy nows, do every website, do your own marketing, do your own website, do meeting up with people. Like I'm sure it has to do with doing all of it. I think there are certain things I could do as far as making connections with like trade shows and stuff. I know like maybe some people will recommend going to some trade shows and trying to meet up with suppliers there. I think there's a lot of stuff I could learn about retail that I don't know. Like I think there's clearly a lot of partnerships that I need to do to improve my business. I think there's but it's just finding the right people is very, 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 very difficult, because in this business, there's just so much money involved, and it's so easy to, do things a little backwards, that it's hard to find people that are like going to stay 100%, transparent and honest through everything. Because a lot of the times the incentives aren't aligned that way to do that. But that is what I would need in a partner to Otherwise, I would just do it all myself, right? I would need somebody who would be completely honest and transparent about it, which would usually have to be like a family member or like childhood friend or something like that, like somebody that you could put enough trust in to handle. But I know that that's just not always possible, but sure it does exist. Junk drawer lot. It's elementary school. All right, we'll go ahead and end it here. This is about an hour and 30 minutes. Hopefully this stream I will keep up, and maybe somebody will sit through and watch some of this. Let me know. Any comments, I accept. Let me know how bad it was or how good it was. I don't know. Trying to get better, and the only way to get better is through practicing, so that's what we're doing.